When I was 17 years old, I started having what I thought were pains in my chest. And anyone at that time, especially as a 17-year-old, would think that that was heart-related, and I thought it was heart-related. At that time, I was a very active teenager. I swam, golfed, played tennis. I would climb trees regularly in a heartbeat. And I was very active socially, and I was good in school. I had no problems with school. And when these pains came about, I never told my parents until I was having difficulty breathing, and I could not get out of bed because of the movement of my chest. And so when I finally told my parents, we went to see my uncle, who is an internal medicine doctor. He first thought that I was just being too active. So he gave me a shot of cortisone in the sternum area of my chest, thinking that, whatever, the inflammation would go away. It did not. It actually only got worse. That then led to a second visit within the same week where he did some blood tests, and it came out positive for rheumatoid factor and rheumatoid arthritis. When he told me I have a diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis, I did not hear the word rheumatoid. I had never heard of that before. What I heard was arthritis, and in those days, arthritis is for old people. Uncle, what are you talking about? That's for old people. To which his response was, as a trusting uncle, he brought out the textbook on rheumatology, arthritis diseases, opened it up, had me flip through pages where I began to see deformed fingers and toes and knees, and immediately I went into denial. That cannot be me. That's not me. The action was he put me on 26 aspirin a day immediately, which did not help whatsoever. In fact, caused all kinds of problems, and that was just the beginning of a downfall. I was just a subsequent increasing pain, increasing functional disability, not wanting to walk first, and then not being able to walk, not wanting to reach up, and then not even wanting to reach at all. So it was a slow closing of my body inward, as well as the depression that started to appear. When a 17, 18-year-old deals with pain throughout the day and night, your whole life changes. I was not my active self. I was not my lively, joke-telling person, young adult that I used to be. And I started to shut down in so many ways. The disease was taking more of a hold. I would go back to my doctor. We would try different medications, and trying different medications was usually a 3 to 5 month process. Let's see if this works. Let's see if that works. Nothing really worked. Ultimately, I ended up in a wheelchair. And what was difficult is by the time, and I had to stop school. So just, graduating from high school is one thing. Trying to go on to school when everybody else your age is off to school is very different. For me, I started school but had to stop, had to go back home to my family where they took care of me. And my job every day was to transfer out of bed into a wheelchair because mom and dad are working age people, and they had to leave. And my mom would leave breakfast or lunch, whatever I asked for, at the dining room table with a little wrap over it. And my job every day was to get out of bed, transfer to the wheelchair, figure out how to get into the bathroom, do my duty there, and traverse in a chair down the length of the hallway to the table. At that time, I was not really reaching for anything. I was in so much pain, I was holding myself all the time. So the ability to eat with a fork or a spoon required so much movement of shoulders, elbows, wrist, and hand. I couldn't do it. So I ate like a little puppy dog. I would lower my face to the food and have my mom already have it chopped up to eat. And that was what I did. And there's nothing more demoralizing when you realize that you're at home alone, eating like a puppy dog. And I realized that if I don't do something about this, I will be like this for the rest of my life. The worst of it was I shut out my friends. I did not want them to see me. My aunts and uncles took pity on me, and I didn't want that. I really didn't want pity. So it was years before I began to realize that I needed to do something, that if I didn't do something, nothing was going to change. So what I did was, innocuously, just without any pre-thought, at the next doctor's visit, I asked my doctor, how come you've never asked me if I want to get out of this wheelchair? To which his response was, eyes open, step back. Took a step back, and I realized that to me was, he doesn't know what my goals are. That is exactly my goal. So I said, you know, my goal is to get out of this wheelchair. Now, what will it take to do this? And he said, well, you're going to need joint replacements, and you're going to need a lot of them. First time I'd ever heard that word, did not know what it meant. And I said, okay, where do we start? It was a lot better agreeing to do something that I didn't know what it was than the status quo. That's the kind of position I was in, emotionally, mentally, and certainly physically. He then subsequently put me in touch with an orthopedic surgeon. I call him my Orthopod 101 to give me a general background as to what would it take to get Amy to stand up. And that meant going through lots of surgeries. Since then, I've had 26 surgeries. 16 of those were joint replacement surgeries. I have been literally rebuilt. That called for 297 days in the hospital, over 17 or 18 years now. But that allowed me to be able to stand up. I had to reawaken atrophied muscles, because that's what happens when you don't use your body. Your muscles atrophy. So it was not just about the actual surgery time in a hospital. It was the months and months and months of rehabilitation to be able to self-motivate, to motivate myself to say, okay, I have to do these series of exercises today, not tomorrow, but today, and not skip it. If I want to stand up and walk as if I can walk normally again, this is what I have to do. So I had to take a look at what motivated me. And this was the beginnings of my becoming a motivational speaker, quite frankly. That I realized that I needed to be incentivized to do so. That was, I suppose, the game part of it for me. I had to make it interesting. So I've used salami as a motivator. I wouldn't think that that would be good nutritionally, but you know, good Italian salami is hard to come by. Having spa days, getting a facial, having my friends take me out on a picnic, things like that became motivators. If I did, you know, 5 exercises, different types of exercise a day, if I did a week worth of exercise, those kinds of things. So I had to learn for myself how to motivate myself to prepare for the surgery, and then after surgery, the recovery process of that, and how to learn literally how to walk again. And I'm happy to say I've done all that.